Welcome to MSG PM, presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. Your app is ready, Emperor. My name is Famuyide, and right now you are checking out the lone playoff win for your New York Knicks as they defeated the Atlanta Hawks, holding them to 35 points in the second half of Game 2 of the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Opening day is right around the corner, so to get you guys ready for it. I got tongue-tied, I'm so excited for the season to start. But before we do all that, you know what time it is. My boy, Jeff Eisenband, he's the one with the numbers. What's up, partner? I'm tagging you in. I know I'm not going to be a homer right now. I'm not going to be a homer. All I'm going to say is...
Of course not.
I was in the building for Game 2 and seeing that crowd of hungry, happy New Yorkers peeling out into the MSG studios. Jeff, with no bias at all, which team has the best home court advantage in the NBA?
Well, I mean, it starts and ends at Madison Square Garden, right? The world's most famous arena. You know, I think that you're right. I mean, the way that we heard, nothing was like those first two playoff games at Madison Square Garden last season. And maybe SmackDown a few weeks ago. But I have to say this, you know, we want to talk about some of those other teams. I think recency bias, you have to bring in Philadelphia and Utah, obviously the number one seeds last year. Two fan bases that rock those buildings in different ways. Philly, it's Philly, right? It's Philly fans. They went 29-7 last year. And then Utah, you're adding in that thin air with that being the only real, Big Four sports team in the Salt Lake City area. They've been incredible, 31-5 last year, right? You do have to look at that and what the Utah Jazz fans were able to do. And then the other two that I think I would just say kind of on the naked eye alone are Portland, which we always talk about them also having that be their team, the Trailblazers, and then Boston. As much as I hate to admit anything about Boston sports teams, Kaz, you know that if we played NBA basketball, we'd be feeling a little differently when we step into that arena in Boston.
Jeff, you and me both. Anytime I could not say anything good about Boston sports fans, it's a good day for your boy. But unfortunately enough, the Knicks open up their season on October 20th against the aforementioned Boston Celtics. So, producers, know what you do and full screen me real quick, and let's look at those odds. The Celtics 1-point underdogs against the New York Knicks. Obviously, the money line is still off with the game being so far away. And look at that over-under total of 217.5 points. Jeff, what jumps out here for you?
Well, what we just talked about, right? This game isn't in Boston, it's in New York. So we can talk about that. We can talk about how, the Celtics have to play here in front of a Madison Square Garden crowd that's going to be back, right? We saw that. Remember, the fans weren't able to fill the building last year. So it's a different atmosphere coming back. Knicks fans so excited about this season. And I just don't understand it. I've been talking about, the win totals that we've seen with the Celtics having a higher predicted win total than the Knicks. The Knicks had more wins last year. The Knicks grabbed two of the players that were part of that Celtics team last year in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. So I think even throwing off the homer cap, just looking on paper, you would take the Knicks getting, maybe even if they're giving a point, if they're getting a point, wherever it is, if it's that close of a game, I think you got to take the Knicks here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a homer either, but come on. Like, those predicted win totals seem like stealing money if you're a New York fan. So we'll see what happens as the season rolls along. But the day before the Knicks kick off their season, the NBA tips off with the I almost called them New Jersey, the Brooklyn Nets taking on the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, remember that classic Game 7 over in the Barclays Center. And it's a pick'em on opening night. The money line is over at 110 and the over-under 240.5 points. Jeff, it's a pick'em. Who are you picking?
Well, I think it's a pick 'em partly because just how close these two teams were last season. When you look at them on paper, the two highest scoring teams in the league, I would take the over here. The Bucks average 120.1 points per game. The Nets 118.6. The Bucks were 22nd in points allowed. The Nets were 21st. I think at full strength, if the teams, and we look, Kaz, we're not entirely sure who's going to get off the bus for the Nets. If everyone shows up that day, if everyone reports to training camp, if everyone goes to Milwaukee for this first game, I understand it's on the road against a team that's going to be celebrating their rings, but I think the Nets at full strength are the better team. I think the reason it's even is because it's in Milwaukee, but I would take the Nets straight up here.
Not going to hold you. Having ring night and then having to go up against James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, A lot of guys. That seems like cruel and unusual punishment for the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. But later that night, the Pacific Coast will play host to the new and improved Los Angeles Lakers, taking on another new and improved team, the Golden State Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga returns. They get Klay Thompson coming back. Stephen Curry is continuing the Stephen Curry run, but they go in as 5-point underdogs against the Lakers. The total over-under with 230 points, 230.5 points. Oh my goodness gracious. Jeff, get me less tongue-tied right here. I can't wait for the season to start. What are you looking at?
Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about this game under the impression that Klay Thompson is in the lineup, right? We're still tracking that Klay Thompson playing for the first time since those finals against the Raptors. People are just waiting, and it changes the whole complexion of this game, right? Because all of a sudden, then we're talking about the old school Warriors. We're talking about a team that should be running up the score, a team that should be shooting a lot of threes, that should be fun to watch. And then on the other side, a Lakers team that adds Russell Westbrook. You want to talk about an organization that's just going for it. With LeBron, with AD, with Russ, everyone at their age. I mean, they're throwing the kitchen sink at this season. I think this game goes over that 230.5 mark you talked about, because I think these are going to be two of the highest scoring teams in the league. And I know LeBron and AD play great defense, but you add Russ, your point total is going to go up. And I think because it's going to be so close, and I think back to that play-in game last year that was so close, I would lean toward the Warriors right now. If Klay Thompson is in the lineup, Warriors getting 5 points in a close game, you got to take that.
Man, you want star power? That is one way to open up the season. I can't wait until October 19th when we see that game live and in living color. Jeff, always great talking with you, talking these numbers right here. It's your boy Kazim Famuyide, and this is MSG PM presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. Your app is ready, Emperor. Enjoy the rest of the game.